Hey, Captain Chris Myers here, Central Florida Sight Fishing Charters. And of the 5 rules of fly casting, one of the very important ones, and the one that is often violated, is that the rod tip must travel in a straight line path if you want a tight loop away from and towards your target. If you want a big open loop, the rod tip can travel in a semicircle. But most of the time we want a tight loop, especially if we're trying to reach any sort of distance and get there quickly and accurately. You want, and the straighter the path of that rod tip, the tighter your loop's going to be. Now, if we hold our fly rod with the thumb on top, or even if you have your finger on top, I prefer the thumb on top grip. Wherever my thumb goes, the rod tip has to follow, unless I'm moving my thumb. But as long as I'm keeping my thumb in that position, wherever the thumb goes, the rod tip must follow. So, if my thumb moves back and forth in a semicircle when I'm bending my wrist, that's what the tip of the rod does. I get a big open loop. If I want this rod tip to follow a straight line, then my thumb has to follow a straight line. The tip of the rod has to follow a straight line back and forth. Now, it doesn't matter whether that straight line is out here to the side, whether it's up here, whether it's 3/4, as long as it's a straight line. And I always have a way to check and see instantly whenever I'm practicing whether my hand and therefore the tip of the rod is going in a straight line. Right here is a perfectly straight line. I always have it with me when I'm practicing. If my thumb is on top of the rod, on top of the grip, and the tip only goes where the thumb goes, if my thumb follows a straight line, well, that means the tip has to be. So an easy way to check yourself is to make a practice cast without a rod in your hand. Here's my cast. It goes back and forth this way. It goes away from my target, towards my target. If I take my rod and I hold it up here, and I want my cast going slightly up in the back, slightly down in the front, so when the loop unrolls, it's right above the water. I don't want that loop unrolling 10 feet up in the air and the fly fluttering on down and landing somewhere near the target. I want it to be right on my target. So I aim just above the water. So this is my straight line. So my straight line is up in the back, down in the front. Here's my hand. It goes perfectly on that straight line. It gets me a nice tight loop. If I come off the straight line just this much, or if I come off the straight line this way, and a lot of people come all the way out here, 2 feet off the straight line, or their hand comes way over here, or it comes down. If you bend your wrist, look what it does off that straight line. If I'm bending my wrist, I've come that far off the straight line, just that far. If you move your hand that far, then look at your tip and see how far the tip of that rod goes. Just a little tiny bit, an inch, 2 inches down here, this tip's moving 3-4 feet or more. Little small mistakes down here at your hand turn into big mistakes up there at the tip of your rod. So if you've taught yourself to cast around in a circle and you're not getting the tight loops you want, take your rod, hold it up, and you can hold it level, you can hold it high in the front, low in the back, wherever you need your cast to go. Like I said, most of the time mine is down. Sometimes I cast totally sidearm. That cast is the same thing. It's right along that straight line. And when I'm making my long cast, I can reach way out here in front of me, way back here behind me, and I stay on that straight line. If you ever get your arm out to the side, out here, if I want to stay on that straight line, look how my hand out to the side, I cannot stay on that straight line very long. My range of motion is limited when my elbow is out to my side. If I have my elbow in, I can come all the way up and down that straight line in a long, long stroke. One of the other rules we talked about is short cast, short stroke, long cast, long stroke. Your long stroke still needs to be on that straight line. So make your long stroke here, and once you can do that a couple times with your rod, now you can practice that without a rod in your hand, without the straight line, because you know you need to follow this straight line. And here's how you retrain your muscles to do it correctly. Once you've taught yourself a different way, you need to change it. You're going to have to do this over and over and over, and you don't need to have a rod in your hand to do that. You can just have a section of rod. You could have a yardstick. You get anything that's a straight line, check it a couple times, you can put it down. Now I don't even need that. I can do this. I can practice my speed, acceleration, and my straight line all in one without a rod in my hand. So if you're not casting on that straight line, or you don't think your loops are as tight as you like them to be, Get your rod out, hold your rod up, here's your straight line. Check your hand on the straight line. If you're a finger on top guy, it has to be the same thing as well. Your finger has to follow that straight line, because wherever our thumb or finger is where the tip goes. And where the tip goes, so will the line. Cast in that straight line and you'll get a lot better and a lot tighter loops.